The glasses clinked. The fridge hummed behind the cinnamon heat of the oven. Laughter filled the room, sharp and bright, like tinsel cutting light. I was 33, smiling too hard, the kind of smile that aches. Pineview Drive glowed warm and hollow. Kayla opened a silver envelope. A key fob slipped out, sleek, smug, new. Dad beamed. Outside, under the porch light, a Tesla waited, fresh from the showroom, worth close to 100,000. Cameras flashed, snow reflected white gold. My box was smaller. Inside, a ceramic pig with a crumpled $10 bill stuffed through the slot. Dad's grin was wide. "That's our contribution to your future home, sweetheart." Laughter rippled again. I smiled without joining it. The pig was cold in my hand, heavier than it looked. For a second, the room blurred. The cheers, the tree, the smell of pine and turkey fat. I remembered turning 10, waiting for candles that never burned. In the kitchen, the hum of the fridge deepened, almost like a sigh. I opened Venmo, typed Dad's name, sent back $10. Message: "Thanks for the gift." Done. Outside, the air sliced my lungs. The Tesla shimmered while my sedan coughed in the drive. The streetlights caught the snow, each flake a hard truth falling. I drove toward the highway, headlights carving white tunnels through the dark. 2 hours to Bozeman, 2 hours to no one's shadow. The diner's neon buzzed. I didn't look back. Have you ever been measured against a sister and found spare? Tell me. The smell of cinnamon candles clung to the air, tangled with old dust and turkey fat. Every time I think of home, that scent drifts in first, sweet, choking. Memory wears perfume. When I turned 10, the house was silent. I'd hinted for weeks about a bike with shiny handles, something of my own. The kitchen held only a store-bought cake, no candles, no note. Later, I learned my parents were setting up Kayla's art exhibit across town. She was 3. Her scribbles hung like prophecy. Tomorrow never came. By 12, I'd stopped asking. The day I won a school essay contest, I ran home holding the certificate, breathless. They were in the living room admiring Kayla's new painting, a smear of orange she'd made at daycare. "That's nice, honey," Mom said without looking up. I folded the paper until the letters cracked. Silence is a language, too. Grandpa Edward was the only one who spoke mine. His house smelled of lemon polish and sawdust, radios whispering Sinatra. On Sundays, he'd carve wooden birds while I read. "You're sharp as a tack," he'd say, eyes kind. He was wrong about one thing. I wasn't sharp. I was weathered. In high school, I became the family's ghost achiever. Perfect grades, part-time job at the bookstore, saving $12K a year for college. Kayla got dresses and new brushes. I got the compliment that never aged. "You're so independent, Jenna." It was supposed to sound like pride. It felt like distance. I worked through college at Montana State, living off scholarship crumbs and caffeine. Data science made sense. Numbers don't play favorites. My projects cut company losses by $85K, but when I called home to share, Dad said, "That's great. Did you hear Kayla's mural got featured?" I stopped calling. At 26, I invited them to dinner after my first raise. I spent 2 days cooking, the apartment filled with garlic and jazz. They arrived late, laughing about Kayla's boutique logo. Mom poked at her plate, distracted. Dad nodded at nothing. I never mentioned the promotion. They told people I didn't need help. I believed them until my hands started to shake from exhaustion. Even Leslie, my colleague then, noticed. "You're running on empty," she said quietly. "They've trained you to." Her words hurt because they fit. I tried one last visit to Pineview. The house looked smaller, walls yellowed from years of praise for someone else. Mom said, "Kayla worries about you. You're always so distant." The gaslight was gentle, perfectly rehearsed. I smiled. I learned from the best. Driving back that night, the dashboard flickered red, the road endless. For every achievement, I'd earned silence in return. Numbers remembered. They didn't. I was the ledger they refused to read. Paper cuts sting longer than they should. The edge of an invoice sliced my thumb as I sorted bills under the weak light of my Bozeman apartment. The heater clicked, then sighed, tired of keeping up. December numbers stared back at me. Rent, utilities, groceries. Precise, loyal things. They didn't play favorites. A tab on my laptop showed Kayla's wedding registry. Champagne towers, imported lace, a venue priced at $23K, catering at $12K, the total edging near $90K. I stared at the total, a digital scream in serif font. A year earlier, Dad had told me, marriage is about commitment, not cost. He meant mine. The irony hummed. Next to it sat another folder, Grandpa Edward's medical papers. Insurance had covered most, but the line labeled unpaid balance still glowed. $1,480. I'd paid it quietly, months ago. No one noticed. Gratitude has a receipt limit. Coffee cooled beside the laptop, tasting faintly of metal. I wrote new formulas at work to project quarterly growth, trimming expenses by $85K for a client who called me the quiet genius. That silence followed me home too. Dr. Lawson's office smelled like old books and eucalyptus. Boundary, she said, tapping her pen, is a budget. You decide where the deficit ends. I nodded. Mine finally balances. For weeks, I cataloged losses like data points, texts unanswered, birthdays unremembered, apologies deferred. The spreadsheet in my head started clearing rows. Bozeman felt larger, cleaner. Sometimes freedom is subtraction. I blocked my family's numbers, deleted shared albums. When the guilt twitched awake, I reminded myself of math. 2 people giving nothing equals 0. Leslie and Mike from work invited me out more. One night, over soft jazz and snow through the bar window, Leslie said, "You don't owe anyone your endurance." I laughed, the sound small but new. Back home, the fridge hummed steady. I opened the old ceramic pig, still pink, still mocking. Inside lay the $10 bill I'd once sent back. I unfolded it, felt its thinness. Money has no memory, but I do. I placed the bill back, pressed the lid down until it clicked. It clicked shut. Static filled the room, the kind that comes before change. The heater exhaled. Outside, a siren wailed somewhere near the river, stretching thin through the cold. At work the next week, my boss offered a promotion. Senior analyst, salary up 12%. Numbers rising in neat rows. I thought about calling my parents, about hearing Dad's voice soften, just to ask about Kayla again. I didn't. Instead, I sent the news to Leslie. Her reply, "Proud of you. Boundaries pay interest." The words stayed on the screen long after the notification faded. Freedom had decimals. That night, I cleaned the desk, the invoices stacked flat, edges aligned. On the shelf, the pig waited, patient. My thumb brushed the crack where glaze met base, cool, smooth, almost kind. I turned off the light. The room counted with me. 1 breath, 1 click, done. Spring came late to Bozeman. The mountains still wore ice on their shoulders, and the air bit like old regret. I'd built a rhythm, work, therapy, long runs by the Gallatin River, and for the first time, my life balanced without apology. Then Leslie told me. We were in a cafe that smelled of burnt espresso and cinnamon. She scrolled her phone, eyes narrowing. Kayla's Tesla was repossessed, she said quietly. Your dad got laid off. The words slid across the table, cold as coins. I nodded, but something in my chest twisted. Not sympathy, not joy, just the ache of inevitability. That night, rain tapped the window like fingers. I reread the email that had slipped past my spam filter. Subject: We need to talk. Kayla. She wrote about the bills, the lost job, the debt. Then came the line that burned. If you'd been here, maybe things wouldn't be this bad. I stared until the words blurred. Gaslight travels faster in writing. The next day, I told Dr. Lawson. "They're drowning," I said. "They built the hole," she replied. Silence stretched. Her pen scratched softly. "What would you owe them if the roles reversed?" "Nothing." "Then that's your answer." But answers don't erase echoes. Guilt lingered like the smell of rain-wet asphalt. I jogged through the park, lungs sharp, trying to run it out. Every breath brought back their faces. Dad's indifference, Mom's distracted smiles, Kayla's glare. 2 days later, another email arrived. Mom this time. Softer, pleading. "We miss you, honey. Can we talk?" I deleted it, my hand steady until it wasn't. Brandon found me on the balcony that evening, city lights stitched below. "You okay?" he asked. "They're unraveling." He leaned on the railing beside me. "Don't mistake gravity for guilt." His voice grounded me. Still, the quiet afterward buzzed. I opened my phone, then closed it. Boundaries hold only if you don't test them. At work, I buried myself in code. Numbers obeyed, people didn't. By noon, I'd optimized a client's workflow by 17%, yet my pulse still raced like I'd sprinted uphill. I left early, wandered Main Street. A thrift shop's window reflected me between mannequins dressed in someone else's memories. Inside, I found a wooden bird, its wings painted blue. Grandpa Edward's handiwork echoed in the brushstrokes. I bought it without thinking. Back home, I set it beside the old piggy bank. Past and present stared each other down. That night, thunder rolled over the valley, low and deliberate. My phone buzzed again, a new message unfiltered this time. "Jenna, it's Dad. We're coming to Bozeman. We just want to talk." My breath caught. The heater clicked off, and the silence that followed felt alive. Outside, headlights swept across the window, slow, deliberate, searching. The trap had learned to travel. The doorbell rang just before noon. Outside, the mountains were still wrapped in late spring haze, the air crisp enough to sting. I'd been arranging wildflowers for the engagement party, stems, scissors, rhythm, when the chime cut through the stillness. Through the peephole, 4 figures, my family. David's jaw set in the shape of authority. Linda's scrubs wrinkled, her exhaustion hanging like a confession. Kayla stood back, arms crossed, a smirk that looked like armor. Edward's eyes, kind, old, and tired, met mine. I opened the door anyway. The smell of rain-damp cotton and car exhaust followed them in. My living room, once quiet, shrank under the weight of their presence. David spoke first. "We heard you're getting married. We need to talk." His voice was firm, practiced, the tone of a man who assumed doors opened for him. Linda stepped closer, fingers trembling around her purse strap. "We miss you, sweetheart. Things have been hard. Your father lost his job," I said. "I heard." Kayla's laugh was sharp. "Oh, so you do keep tabs. Thought you'd erased us." "Erased?" I repeated. "I just stopped being invisible." Silence tightened the room. Rain began again outside, soft and insistent against the glass. Edward cleared his throat. "Jenna," he said gently, "families break, but they can mend. Don't carry the bitterness forever." His words, kind as they were, still pressed old bruises. I took a deep breath, the scent of wet earth threading through the open window. "You didn't come to mend. You came to reclaim what you lost." Linda's eyes welled. "We need you, Jenna. The house, the bills." Her voice cracked. I wanted to feel sympathy, but my body remembered every forgotten birthday, every dismissal wrapped in praise. "You cut me out long before I left," I said quietly. "You made me the strong one so you could stay comfortable." David's face reddened. "We did our best." "No," I said, "you did what was easy." Kayla's glare flared. "You think you're better than us? Just because you got lucky?" I laughed once, small and hollow. "Luck doesn't pay rent." I did. Edward's gaze softened. "Jenna, please. I'm not asking for money. Just Don't end it like this. I stepped closer to him. I love you, Grandpa. But love doesn't mean staying where I'm small. The clock ticked loud enough to feel. Brandon's keys rattled in the hallway, the sound of another life entering. When he opened the door, the air shifted. He froze, taking in the scene, my family, clustered and brittle. David turned to him. You must be the fiancé. Brandon nodded, slow. Yes, and you must be the reason she learned to survive. The silence that followed was absolute. Rain drummed the roof like applause for an ending. I looked at them, the people who taught me absence, who'd mistaken endurance for love, and felt nothing but release. You should go, I said. No one moved. Outside, thunder cracked over Bozeman, sharp and final. The door swung shut behind them. The sound echoed like a verdict.